First of all, it is our honor to have you we have the interview here today, and thank you for your time. We know you are so busy, and let's get started. So let me introduce myself and my partner. I'm Elvin.
And I'm Stanley.
From the Starseed Alliance in Hong Kong.
Yeah, we're happy to have an interview with you.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, as we all know, most of Hong Kong people may not know Mary Rodwell. Could you please introduce yourself and let us know about your background?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sometimes known as the alien lady these days. My background is I was a nurse and a midwife as my profession, but went into counselling 35 years ago and did all different types of counselling, family issues, grief and bereavement, hospice, all those kinds of issues. And about 25 years ago, I went into private practice. And it was there that someone came to see me because they'd heard I was open-minded and told me about their experiences. So from that point, I started to get drawn into this phenomena, into this subject. And from that time, I've been a researcher, a therapist, a counsellor, and a hypnotherapist. So I've done hypnosis with them as well, because all of those skills have been needed for those that have come to me, because as you probably realize, this is not something most people can talk about. Most people are even afraid to go to their doctor or to go to their psychologist or someone else because the fear that maybe they will be seen as crazy. So it's become my life's work, really, to support those that don't have a voice, that feel very confused and frightened, or just want to tell me how amazing their experiences are. Then this is when I created a CERN, which is the Australian Close Encounter Resource Network. And for that was to provide professional resources for people seeking support in Australia. But since that time, I now am supporting people globally in many, many countries, including Asia, China, Hong Kong, Russia, right across the board. People have come and resourced me.
Okay. So this is a beautiful time and chance for, people really close to you to see you in Hong Kong face to face.
Yes. The whole idea is that I think people that are having these experiences need to know the person who they're resourcing will listen, will not judge them. And yes. For me, my background in healing, my background in being a therapist and counsellor has always been, I hear the story. I'm not there to judge the story. It's not my job. My job is to support people with their experience.
Very good. I think a lot of researchers learn from you. Also, Mary, a lot of people was now afraid in Hong Kong because of Chinese government or Hong Kong government sometime, or actually national government, was trying to say that the information explode or have the flick information explode around the world. So a lot of people ask, in your position, will you afraid to stand up to speak for those people?
I'm not a threat to anyone within any governments or anything like that. I am not a political person. My job is purely to listen to people's stories and help them through their journey. So this is not a threat to anybody. It's not a threat to any governments. It's not a threat to anyone in authority at all. It's more about helping that person work through their experiences in a way that's healthy for them and will enable them to be the person that they want to be, so that they can be functional, so they can still operate on this planet. Because those that don't get support often will end up being really frightened, being really traumatized, and not able to do their work or do their job or be a good parent or all those things. So for me, my work is not about government, it's not about politics, it's about purely being a therapist that is supporting people with their experiences. So that is no threat to anyone other than I'm honouring their story and their reality.
Yeah, I think people should understand all this. So how about Alvin? Would you like to do the next question?
Okay.
Yeah.
Mary, as you mentioned, you do a lot of research about the ET or new human. Could you tell me what kind of research method or methodology you apply in your case?
Well, I work with an organisation in America. I'm one of the co-founders of an organisation called the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial and Extraordinary Experience. We're not ufology. We are looking at the surveys to do with consciousness, to do with people having experiences out of the normal, which means they may have interactions with non-human intelligence, which can mean for some people that it's an experience where they feel it's spirits, they may feel it's energy beings, they may feel they're solid or not solid. It's about having experiences in our multidimensional state. So what we've done is do surveys, 600 questions globally, and the research has been on their conscious recall, and it's an academic study. So it's scientific, it's academic, and the whole point is to bring this into mainstream and say people have experiences beyond what we consider the norm. They have experiences where they maybe see energy fields, they may see orbs, they may see beings, they may see UFOs, but they also may feel there's a connection to them. And this is what we're studying, is all of that. And it's an academic study through that organisation. It's a scientific organisation. Before that, I wrote a book called Awakening, which was a therapeutic resource to help people work through this experience. So if they are starting to see strange things like energy fields, or feel they're drawn to healing and work with energy, or feel that they want to understand more, that book was to help them through the process of that experience, so they don't, as we call it, lose the plot, end up going crazy or feeling ignored or isolated. So it's to help them be more functional, because ultimately this experience isn't one that should make you crazy, but it will make you more sensitive to energy fields. It will make you more sensitive to healing energies. It will make you more sensitive to things around you that our eyes can't see, but we can sense and we can feel. And also to listen to our intuition, which is giving us information. Because a lot of the studies now are on consciousness where people may have a near-death experience and find that they have expanded awareness. They may have out-of-body experiences and be conscious of them and say, well, what's happening? So it really is just saying we're more than a physical body, that we are spirit. And our spirit or soul is what allows us to travel to and from other realms. We do it when we're dreaming. We go into other realms. It's all normal. It's not abnormal, but it's helping people not be afraid of it and to know how to work with it so that they can become more whole, not less whole.
Okay. So generally speaking, do you seek for your audience or your study subjects, or they find you or you find them?
Good question, Arvin. Since I've become quite well known now, because I have presentations out there and I've written a couple of books, more and more people find me through that. But I find that it's interesting how people do get to connect to me. It's almost like, and I will tell you, this is a weird one, was one gentleman wrote to me from America, and he said in his dream, he was told to connect to Mary Rodwell. I had no idea who I was. He just, Mary Rodwell, who's this person? He looked me up on the internet, and there is my name, and he couldn't believe it. There was a real person. And this was in a dream. He got this in a dream. So there is a real high strangeness with how people find me sometimes. It is quite it's quite funny, and it just shows the universe is very mysterious, but beautiful and exciting.
True.
So you just mentioned that you have a question here. Is it in English only, or do you have Chinese version?
Well, what I've actually, what do you mean, Chinese people coming to me, or do you mean, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Do you have a Chinese version?
Do you have a Chinese version of the question here? You just mentioned. Your 600 questions?
Oh, yeah. They're looking for the questionnaire for the SARSIP.
Yeah.
We definitely have a Chinese version that people can read on.
Okay, yes, I'm with you now. What I'm doing at the moment is my new website's going to have 5 languages on it, and one of them will be Chinese. Because I have had interest from China. I've had a few researchers tell me about stories of people in China that have had unusual experiences, and what I'm fascinated by is, particularly as my area is, when someone's had experiences, sometimes they begin to write strange writing or strange artwork and what have you. And I've got several videos that I will show in Hong Kong that show them doing the same things as people in England and in Europe and in the US are doing similar things. So what happens after contact, it changes people, as you know, and they may find themselves doing unusual things, like writing, as I say, coming out with what we call the star languages. And so this has been happening across the globe. This is not one particular country. This is everywhere. So I believe these intelligences that are our ancestors are making sure we all get an opportunity to become more aware, more connected to them. And they're doing it in lots of different ways. And what's fascinating is that there is some information coming out of Asian countries, China, Japan, and so I hope before long to connect with more researchers in all those countries, because it's wonderful to hear the different ways we interpret the same experience. We sometimes have a different interpretation.
Okay, Mary.
So,
I would like to know after you
a very hot topic in Hong Kong. We talk about autism and ADHD. And I found out your research that have a lot of cases related to this disease. So, will you talk more about it on this? What?
It's a very good question, Kaza. And what I've been very interested in with my own personal research, apart from the research that the organisation of FREE has done, is before we co-founded FREE, I was doing my own personal looking at patterns of experience. And what I noticed was one important fact is that it's intergenerational. It goes through family lines, so that if a father or a mother's had experiences, then the child will, and the children's children will. So what I was interested in is why, if they were doing things to enhance our awareness, make us more empowered and more aware of our greater reality, why is it that the children may have what we thought was a dysfunction, which they call ADHD, Asperger's, dyslexia, and some forms of autism? It didn't make sense. Why would an advanced civilization create dysfunctional children? Until I realized they're not dysfunctional, they're just different. And what I mean by that is they're wired differently. And they're wired differently because of the fact that they are far more aware than the older generations. These children will talk about their past lives. They will talk about coming into this planet to help the planet, they have a mission and a purpose. They will talk about being able to communicate with animals. They will talk about being connected to these intelligences as family, as ancestors. They are consciously aware. They don't need hypnosis. Yes. They find they can do lots of things. Some tell me they can do healing. They talk about going out of body on spacecraft and going to other planets and learning things there and bringing that awareness back to this planet. So they're our future. They are the ones that are coming in as our future. And we have to understand they're not dysfunctional. We're the ones, the older ones. Because we're limited in the paradigm that tells us this is not real, whereas in fact it is. Yes. And they're more connected to it than we are. So they are the future. We're getting future humans coming in to help us sort out the planet, clean it up, get it functional and healthy. So this is something to celebrate, and this is why I spend many chapters talking about the children and what they tell us about what needs to happen to give us a beautiful planet to live on. And I don't write it as someone who says this is proof. What I do is say these are their stories, and if that makes sense to you, or it's something that's like your experience, maybe it will help you understand more about yourself and more about your potential, because we haven't got the evidence, we haven't got a piece of the craft yet, or whatever, but we have people that have this experience and through it are changed forever, are transformed into a more healthy, aware human, as I call it.
So I believe this helps a lot of parents to understand their new children as well.
Yes, and that's very important because they need our support. They need to be listened to. They need to be heard so they don't get shut down and afraid to talk about it, because anyone who has experiences that is not considered the norm is marginalized. People don't want to talk to them, or they'll think they're crazy or whatever. I have thousands of people having experiences out of the box, thousands upon thousands. I've worked with over 3,000 individuals, families, children that are having incredible stories of their experiences with these intelligences. And this is everywhere. There's no country that doesn't have this going on, because I believe they are targeting human consciousness. They want us to wake up and realize that we're part of them, because this is what I believe is going on now. It's a wake-up call for humanity. We've got to clean up the planet. We've got
new generation.
Yeah, and that's why individuals like Kaza have come in with us. Those that have had soul swaps or walk-ins have come in with this higher awareness, so they can help us with that process of working out what we need to do to heal each other, to heal the planet, and to make this a beautiful planet again, because at the moment we're not doing a very good job.
Right.
Yeah. Kaza, you encounter a lot of cases from the world, just like in Australia or in Asia. Is there any static case in Hong Kong or in China?
You're asking Mary, right?
Mary.
Mary.
Well, we've got some evidence right away, haven't we? Of course. They're everywhere. They are everywhere. But many of them will not come out and say so unless they know it's safe to say this, because, it's scary, because the problem is that the mainstream media and public do not know that this is the truth, that there's been a truth embargo on what's been going on for many, many years. It's been kept from the public. And slowly people are getting to know that it's real. We're getting sightings of craft all the time now. More and more people are sharing their story, but there's still this blanket over this reality. And so what's needing to happen more and more is brave souls like Kaza and others like her are coming out and saying, I need to say my truth. I need to tell my truth, because this will help others that are afraid or of judgment. Their family may think they're crazy. It's a very difficult thing. I mean, I meet scientists and psychologists and psychiatrists having experiences that can't come out publicly and say that because of their professions. I talk to lawyers, pilots, celebrities, politicians, but they can't say because of their job and the work that they do, because they're afraid then if they do, that people will laugh at them, they will lose their job. So there's a lot at stake here, to actually stand up and say, this is my experience. And I talk about a wonderful molecular biologist in Sweden, Dr. Lena Olsson, who is an experiencer, starseed. She's one of the letter people, the ADHDs and Asperger's. And she was told through a healing experience by a mantic being that she needed to come out now and share her truth. And she had an instant healing, and she made the commitment to do so. But it's huge to come and risk your livelihood on speaking the truth. And this is a big thing to do. And that's why I honour all those that are brave enough to do it, like Kaza, because it's a huge thing to do, because you're actually challenging the world mindset. And that isn't an easy thing to do.
I thought it was easy at the first beginning, but after, a few years, I learned a lot. I learned how humans work. I understand a lot. It's challenging, but it won't stop me.
Yeah.
And Kaza, thank you for that. And I will say you will get people that you are challenging their whole reality. You're challenging what they want to believe. And they will not like it.
Yes.
They'll be scared. They'll either be scared or they will not want you to say what you're going to say because they want to believe this.
Yeah.
And when you start opening their minds, then that can be really scary. So sometimes they're just really scared.
Yes, it's all about fears.
It is.
People just like to sit in their own box.
That's it.
Wait for the miracle to happen, but not really look outside the box.
Yeah.
What I say to people is you don't have to believe anything that I talk about, but if something of what I say makes sense to you, look into it for yourself. Go and see for yourself and work it out whether or not that makes sense. Because I don't ask anyone to follow everything I say and believe it all, because that's not intelligent either.
Exactly.
You need to look into it and say, oh, well, this bit makes sense to me, and go and look into it. And maybe, just maybe, that will open your mind to more of what we don't know.
And I think now is the action time. There's no time waste, but just keep imagination but not taking action. So, yeah, that's why we're here.
Yes.
And that is the reason why we hold this talk in April. We want to let them know we can see you, we hear you, we know your needs. That is the reason we invite Mary to come to Hong Kong to share your opinions to them. And also, is there any topic you prepare for those Hong Kong audience and any other purpose for you to talk to them?
It's a real honour, and I am very grateful for the opportunity to come to Hong Kong again. I came some years ago, probably in 2006, to a Hong Kong group there. They were amazing, wonderful, welcoming, hospitable, beautiful people that I met. And I will not forget the kindness that I found in Hong Kong. So I have great gratitude that I have an opportunity to come again and meet some of you and to meet those that are passionate, as Kaza is, to help others understand what's going on. What I'm talking about will be the new human, the children, and what they are telling us about healing and how we can know how healing works. I've got some lovely clips of that. I want to show that I've got stories from China as well. There's a little bit in there about that. And I'm going to also say how to support the children, why they're different. I'm going to talk about intuitive abilities, multidimensionality, how you know when something makes sense to you, that feels right, that start listening to that. So I'm going to talk about a whole range of how our non-physical reality affects our physical reality. And for me, what's been happening on our planet is that we have been denied our full human experience by only being told that unless you can see it, touch it, feel it, or whatever, it's everything else is not real. Well, that's not true. We have a side of ourselves which is our multidimensional self, our soul self, call it spirit, call it what you like, that goes out of body, experiences, but also experiences within the body as well. And that's why we can show people how you can work with energy, what it feels like. And I can talk about what that is. What is it when you get information from these intelligences? What does it feel like? What is this is it valid? How do you work with that? So that it really brings in the understanding that we are here from spirit having a human journey. And the human journey is the adventure. And the more that we honor it, the more we will be what we can be. So I'm going to talk about Star Kids. I'm going to talk about all the non-physical. I'm talking about healing. I'm talking about the abilities. And I will be there for all the questions that people have around this as well. And I will go wherever you want to go, whether it's DNA. I'll talk about the DNA because I'm a former nurse and I need to have the tangibility. So I'll be talking about why we know we are not from here, that we are a bit of everything. We're a bit of the star people and we're a bit of human. And put together, we are amazing beings. And I'm going to talk about how we can be even more amazing, every single one of us.
Because Dr. Mary is going to help us activate our DNA. So a lot of people are fascinated about it, but they come to ask me, Kaza, what happened if they activate my DNA? What happened to me? Will I become an alien in just a second? Something like that?
Look, it's already there waiting for it to be activated, and everybody gets it activated in a different way. Some people will have a near-death experience and have it activated, out-of-body experience, or someone else may have a healing and it's activated. Somebody else may have it activated through a journey, for example, and it will get activated. The soul comes in waiting for that activation, and it can happen in many different ways. And one of the interesting little young girls I'm going to mention from Spain actually had her wake-up call when she was 15 and realized that she was a hybrid, and then got passionate about finding out about science, downloads of quantum physics, all this kind of thing. So activation happens when the soul chooses, and it will find the mechanism, the way through for that to happen. So if you get activated, it's your time.
Okay.
It's a good thing. It's
a good thing.
It's ready.
Yes, I think so. I think now is the Hong Kong, it's time for Hong Kong people to wake up.
Yes, absolutely.
For sure.
Okay.
Well, yes.
Thank you.
And look, I don't expect anyone to come in and believe everything.
Right.
But I say to them, look, see what you feel, see what you sense and feel, and trust that, because that's your soul guiding you. So, for everyone, the experience will be different, but that's good because we're all different and we see the world differently. So however it is for you, and I will be showing, scripts, I will be playing some of the star languages because they're frequencies that will also activate DNA if it's your time to be activated. They will activate because that's part of showing you how activation happens. And I'll talk about activation of DNA and how it can happen with different people.
Okay.
And the last question,
Last question.
Yeah, the last question I want to ask is about your workshop. You're going to do a workshop for us. So can you talk about what inside your workshop, what people will get from your workshop?
Well, with the workshop, I want to go into more detail about how this all works, how we work with our intuitive side, what to recognize when we get in that sense that there's an energy around us, or a sense that we're being guided, whether you call it a guardian angel, whether you call it a spirit guide, whether you call it your higher self. How does that work? How do you get to know what's going on, and how do you discern the information? So I'll be talking about practical ways of you working with your spiritual self, with that part of you that's aware, and what it feels like, so that you've got tools. But from that, I will also make sure the workshop is around who comes. So I will say to you, right, what is it you want to get from this? Because that's what I will be working on. Because I could do lots of different things, but I wanted to make it absolutely focused on the people that come to the workshop and say, right, what is it that you're going to find helpful? because that's what we'll bring in. Anything you find helpful. So it will be very much geared to the group and what they want and what they want to get from it.
Yeah, it's like a surprise because I remember you post a beautiful photo that you have 2 cells in one picture, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're working with someone like healing, and then 2 of you showing in the photo at the same time.
Absolutely. I don't know what will happen, but I get guided to how I need to do something. So I trust my intuition. I trust the team, as I call it.
That's how I call mine.
And they basically help me say, right, Mary, and something will come into my mind. You need to say something about this. You need to say something about that. So I work like that all the time. And I wrote my books in the same way. When I was writing a chapter on something, I'd get the phone calls or I would just get information. This is what needs to happen. So I've been working that way a long, long time. And,
Praise God, it's not weird. It's not just a weird.
I will tell you something really funny. I was staying with a scientist and we were sitting at the breakfast table and he got some information intuitively. And he said, oh, what do you think about this, Mary? I've just got this information about this, this, and this. It was at the breakfast table. And I'm going, oh, that sounds all right. He's hold on a minute. They're saying, yes, that's how it is. So we were having this conversation like this over the breakfast table. And he was tuned in the whole time to his source. And this is a scientist, okay, that did it naturally and normally. And this is how many scientists, I believe, get their information. They go into a relaxed state and the information comes in. I think Einstein did it. I think Tesla was another one. I think many of those that are bringing in the new inventions are because they're connected to the intelligences. So what's the big deal?
Yeah, I don't see any big deal at all. But, you need to more open their eyes, more open their mind, listen more.
It's why it will make people more functional, because when we listen to that intuition, to that sense and feeling and that information, the more we get things right. Not less, more so.
Yeah.
When we work in harmony with our left brain, analytical logic, great, but doesn't help us with other information. We need that other part to put them together. And then we work in harmony with both. That's what needs to happen. And that's what I'll be talking about, is how you can do both and be fully operational. It's like otherwise you're just, operating on 2 buttons of the computer, and you're missing out on a whole load of software that you could be using. And you need that software to make it all work properly.
Right. Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Mary.
So much for your time today.
You're welcome.
You're explaining a lot, and I think my Hong Kong people will understand more why they need to come. They will prepare themselves.
We look forward to seeing you in April.
Yeah, everyone looking forward to see you in April.
Okay. Well, I'm really looking forward to coming and meeting you all.
Oh, I want to give you a big hug anytime.
Yeah, me too.
We'll do that as well. And, of course, to meet you 2 beautiful gentlemen as well. I'm really looking forward to it. So blessings to you both.
Yeah, and I hope you have a good trip.
Thank you.
Yeah, update me anything or anytime if you need my help.
All right. I will.
Okay? Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
Take
Have a
care.
good day.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.